So last time we were modeling the 3D model of this lighter in Blender, and today we will be focusing on the rest of the scene. That means the environment, the materials, lighting, camera placement, and a whole bunch of other stuff related to this project that's not even visible in the render. So welcome again to Graphinity. This is the second part of the workflow behind this project, and if you haven't seen the first part yet, definitely go watch it, because we are going to follow it up today. The link to the video appeared right now at the top, so if you haven't watched it, go ahead, because it's crucial for this video. Otherwise, let's start with the tutorial. But before we dive into building the environment, I realized that the lighter is incomplete because I forgot to add a wick, which is the small piece of the rope that is set on fire when you ignite the lighter. Let's take care of this first. So add a cylinder, move it to the center, go to edit mode, and inset the top face a little bit. Then extrude the face inside the cylinder to about half of its height and scale the face down. Then select the sharp edges and bevel them with about 3 to 4 segments. Then select the circle face again and extrude it down, again just slightly above the very bottom level. Again bevel the sharp edge, and in this case 1 segment is enough. Let's make the wick. Create 3 circles evenly distanced from each other in a triangle and join them together. Now we want only the profile geometry that is visible from the outside. So we will select the unnecessary geometry, delete it, and if there are still some overlapping edges, we will fix that by merging the vertices into one. Now we have the profile, which we will be using for making the wick structure. Go to modifier section, add a screw modifier on the z-axis with 2 iterations and increase the screw value. Now we have the wick, but it's perfectly symmetrical, so we need to deform it a little bit. So first add a Bezier curve and rotate it to the position of the wick. Now in order to deform the wick, it needs to follow the curvature of the Bezier curve. I am using Cable Writer add-on for this, which is basically a shortcut that will do this in 1 click. But if you don't have this add-on installed, just simply go to modifiers, add a displace modifier, set the direction to Z and space to local. Then add the curve modifier, choose the Z-axis again, and select the curve as a curve object. If the wick is not following the curve, you need to reset the origin to geometry and apply the scale and the rotation of the curve. Now you are able to deform the wick properly, without disturbing the geometry. So adjust the curve as you want. When you are happy with your results and positioning, apply all modifiers. Then go to edit mode, select the top vertices and close the geometry by adding a face. Then bevel the corners and press C on your keyboard to avoid overlapping geometry. Now the wick is finished, but we can take this even further. Select the top part into edit mode and assign the selection as a vertex group. Then go to the particles and create a new particle system. Scroll down to the vertex groups and in the density select the vertex group that we just created. Now the hairs should be emitting only from the top part. But the hair is too long, so you need to decrease the hair length. Also, if you enable advanced options on the top, you will be able to see more features. So check advanced and go to velocity section. I want the hair to stand up a little bit to make the effect more real. So just slightly increase the x-axis. Then go to modifiers again and convert the particles into the mesh. And for better randomization, use random proportional editing. This will allow you to distribute the hair more unevenly. Now to add a thickness to the hair, we will use geometry nodes. Create a new group, and the first node we will add is mesh to curve node. Next we will add curve to mesh, and as a profile input we will use a curve circle with low resolution and even smaller radius. Now the whole wick is completed. Finally, I tried to blend the fibers more accurately with the wick, so it looks more united and more as one object. And that's it for the lighter. The 3D model is now ready for the next step, which is the environment. So move every part of the 3D lighter to a new collection and give the collection name lighter. This will help us to import the whole lighter into a new scene where we will be building the surroundings, because it's better to do this separately. After doing so, save the project and open a new file. Let's set up the scene first. Select all objects, delete them, add a plane, scale it up, and add a simple subdivision level of 6. Now we will append the whole lighter collection to the scene. So go to File and click on Append. You need to find the lighter blend file, and if you click on the file, go to Collections and append the collection with the name lighter. After you click on append, the whole collection should appear in the 3D viewport. Let's rotate the lighter so it lays on the ground. The first thing we will do is set up the lighting. And because the realism is our goal, we will use environment texture. Now I will provide all the links to the sources I used, so the materials and the HDRi files, in the description, so you can check it out and download it directly instead of looking for the same textures on the internet. So now in shading, switch from object to world and add environment texture. The purple color means that the texture file is missing or it has not been located yet, so we need to add one. Our lighting has been set up now, so let's move to the texturing of the lighter. Obviously I will use the steel texture because the body of the lighter is usually made out of steel. Select the body and add a new material and unwrap the 3D model with cube projection, which I found the best working for this. Now, if you have a node Wrangle add-on enabled, select the principled BSDF, and with the combination of Ctrl-Shift-T on your keyboard, you can easily access all texture maps and import them all at once. And do the same process for the second part of the body as well. Next, for the lighter insert, I will use more rusty metal, so there is a sign of wear and surface damage, which is not only good for additional detail, but also for the storytelling itself. The flint wheel is a mechanical part that is being used the most, so it will be also the most rusty part of the lighter. For the flint I will use the same material I used for the insert, just to preserve some material variation but also maintain the unity. Now for the rope, I will use the rope texture from the same website, and because of the complexity of the topology, the cylinder UV projection should do the work. For the fiber, I made a separate material and just selected the color from the rope texture with an eyedropper to make the material similar. For the ground, use ground material of your choice. But if you look closely to ground, it's still flat and the displacement is not affecting the mesh. So to fix that, you go to material properties, settings and choose bump and displacement. This setting will not appear if you are using Eevee render engine instead of cycles. Now at this point the displacement is actually doing something, but the strength is too high, so lower the strength to like 0.01 or 0.015 max. Select the ground plane and shade smooth the surface. I wanted to add a logo as a displacement map to make the render more interesting. So add a height map of your logo or the text, which is essentially a black and white image texture that represents the amount of elevation that will be used to displace the mesh. If you want to do the same, first you need to create a new UV map in Object Data Properties to avoid stretching or distorting the metal texture. Select the UV map and unwrap the object again. Add a new UV node to the shading. Select the UV map that we just created and plug it into the vector input of the height map. By default, the displacement is set to go upwards, but if you want the displacement to go inwards, just make the number negative. Now for the environment, I will be using Geoscatter add-on, because they have high quality assets, and it takes just a few clicks to make a realistic environment. This is not a paid promotion or anything, I just like the add-on. If you have your own asset, you can use it to distribute it on the plane itself. But I recommend investing in these types of add-ons because they will save you huge amounts of time, since you don't have to model everything on your own. I want to recreate some sort of forest environment, so I will add small rocks, dead leaves, gravel and bushes, just to add some greenery for better colors. If the lighting is not ideal, you can play with the Z rotation of the environment texture, but that's pretty much it. You can of course add other elements to the scene, but be careful with the composition, because you want to bring the focus on the lighter, and too much objects might cause distraction if there is too much things going on. And before rendering, you can also add an empty, snap it to the lighter, and set it as a focus object in the depth of field camera settings, to make the foreground and the background blurred, while enhancing the realism. So let's render the scene, and this is the result. I hope this was useful and you learned something from this video. Other projects are coming soon, especially visual on my own remix, which will be soon on this channel once I am done with the rendering of the animation completely, so stay tuned. This will be spectacular. Subscribe to Graphinity, like, share and comment other ideas or something what you might find interesting to learn about. And with that, see you in the next project.